Guys, so before I start, please excuse my nails. Excuse them. But anyways, so today we're going to be focusing on the liquid to powder ratio and how to get that perfect bead. So for starters, if you have dirty monomer, that is a no-go. Dump it out. Do not try to hang on to that monomer because that plays a big part when you're trying to pick up your beads and having the nasty, dirty monomer. So you see me, I just dumped it out, and now I'm taking a towel and I'm just wiping out any sticky tackiness that may be left in the jar, and then I'm going to pour in some fresh monomer. So now I'm just going to show you my brush, and you can see that the bristles are nice and soft. There isn't any acrylic left in it, so you guys want to make sure that you do have a clean brush. You do not want to try to pick up beads with stuff like acrylic left in your brush. So I'm showing you which acrylic powders I'm going to be using. This Speed White by Young Nails. Oops, sorry, I dropped that. Clumsy me. But this is by Young Nails, and it's a Speed White because I want you guys to see how a fast-paced monomer acrylic work. And also I'm going in with G19 Candy Crush by Not Polish, okay? So I'm going to show you guys how to work with both of these acrylics. And I'm just starting off by removing some of the shine off of this nail. Now, this step is very... I don't want to say it's very crucial. I'm not going to say that. I just want to say it's just something. If you want to do it when you're practicing, you can. If you don't have to. But it is crucial when you are doing nails. Someone's real hand, you do want to remove that shine. It helps, the acrylic adhere better to the nail, and also for your prep. But we're not going over that as of right now. So I also have a sheet here that I'm going to be going over with you guys. It has the small, medium, and large beads. Also, there's some different nail shapes that you can practice on. And now I'm going to get started. So I'm just making sure my brush is nice and clean. Make sure my bristles are spread apart before I get started. So I'm going to be showing you some do's and don'ts. So I'm going to pick up some beads that are too wet, some beads that are too dry, just so you guys can kind of see what I'm talking about. So this first bead that I'm going with, this is a Speed White, but as you can see, it's going to be too wet of a bead for me, okay? And I want you guys to see how it starts to spread. So if it's spreading like this on the sheet, it's going to spread like that on your client's nails. But with this specific acrylic, it is a speed acrylic. So although it is super wet, it does typically dry faster than a regular acrylic powder that is not considered a speed powder. So that bead was still not correct, but it did dry a little bit faster than a typical acrylic powder would dry. So now I'm going to pick up another bead. I'm going to let my brush be a little bit more wet, but just a little bit more drier than the previous one, so you guys can see that we're going to be almost getting there. You can see that the acrylic is shiny, meaning it's ready to be used, and also you see the whiteness on my brush. That is what you want to wipe off when you're constantly doing your client's nail. You need to be constantly wiping the brush to ensure that no acrylic is getting stuck inside of your bristles. So that bead was okay, getting there, but still a little bit too much liquid in my brush. So now I'm picking up another bead, and I'm just draining out a little bit of the liquid. You can do that if you need to. And now I'm just going to place it here. And you can see that this bead is a perfect bead. It is not running all over the place. I'm able to work with it. And now I'm going to get another bead. I'm going to do a smaller bead, but I'm going to make sure that, let me see if you guys can see it. It's hard to see this white on the camera, but I'm just going to place this bead down, and you can see that this bead right here is an okay bead as well. You can see that it's not running all over the place, but it's not perfectly inside that circle. So now I'm going to grab a smaller bead so you guys can see me do a smaller bead. And this bead is going to be a little bit too runny, and you can see it running all over the place, right? That's because I had too much liquid on my brush. So now I'm going to grab a proper bead for you guys. I'm making sure my liquid to powder ratio is correct, which it is, and I'm waiting for the acrylic to turn shiny. letting me know that it is ready to be used. And I'm just going to place it down. Once you place your beads down, your brush should come directly up. There shouldn't be anything left on your brush. You can see I'm going to compare these two. You see the first one that I did right there, it was running. This one is just staying in place. That's what you guys want when you're doing nails. So I'm going to pick up another bead for you guys. This is another small bead. You can see also that I do not have any acrylic on the opposite side of my brush. Make sure when you're picking up your beads, you're not stabbing it into the acrylic per se. You want to kind of go in at an angle, okay? So make sure that you guys are doing that, and make sure you guys are constantly cleaning your brush. Now that we've gone over some of these beads, I'm going to show you guys an example on my mannequin hand, and we're going to do 3 bead methods and 2 bead methods, okay? Okay, you guys, so let me just kind of move things around. I want you guys to kind of get a good angle. I'm making sure I don't have too much liquid on my brush, but keep in mind this is a fast setting acrylic. So now that I have my bead, I was waiting for it to turn shiny, and now I'm placing it down and up, okay? You see my brush needs to be clean, and now I'm just gonna move around, making sure that nothing is falling all over the place, which it wouldn't be because the ratio is not off. So I'm able to maneuver with this bead the way I want to. Now, since this is a fast setting acrylic, if it does dry up, you see that in my brush, clean that off. If it does dry up, guys, make sure that you dip your brush into the monomer and then apply a little bit of it on your acrylic, and it should be a little bit easier to maneuver once it starts to dry up. I do have to do that sometimes, and that's totally fine. I also want to mention that I was doing this video because one of my subscribers had mentioned that she was having a tough time, and I completely understand how it can be, and I don't want any of you all to lose focus and to get discouraged. So if you guys have any requests, I really don't mind doing them for you. I'm here to help. So now I'm going to grab another small bead, and I'm going to go in right above the area on the nail right there. I'm just going to place my bead down, lift my brush up. Okay, you see where I'm putting it at, right in that area. Wipe my brush off, clean everything off. Then I'm going to start to work with it, okay? Remember, if your brush is too dry or and it's starting to move the acrylic in a way that you don't want it to be moved, you can always add a little bit of monomer on your brush, or if your acrylic is drying up, you can add a little bit of monomer to try to save it and to make it a little bit looser. So now I'm going to grab my next bead. I'm trying to show you guys how it looks, but this white is really hard to see, okay? So there it is again. Wipe my brush off. Make sure I'm starting to bring everything in before I pull everything downward, okay? Because you do not want your nails to look wide and fat. So I always bring in the sides first and then pull down, okay? So now I'm going in with my cuticle bead. It's going to be small, and I'm going to apply it just above the previous bead. This is where a lot of people have troubles, okay? So watch what I do here. I like to apply it and push upward towards the cuticle. Gently push forward until everything is nice and flushed. And I'm just going around the sides to make sure everything is nice and flushed. If you get some of your products on the client, try to go ahead and remove it immediately and just make sure you're not flooding those cuticles, okay? So you can see where I missed a little area, and if you do it on the nails, just pick up some acrylic, go in and fill that spot in. I'm not sure what happened right here. There's a hole. So what I'm going to do is just apply a small amount of acrylic to fill in that hole and just move along. Okay, you guys, so for this nail, I'm going to do the 2-bead method. For you guys that like to grab 2 beads, so I'll make sure I have enough liquid on my brush to grab a large bead. I'm using the size 14 Kilonsky brush, and I'm going to place the bead not too far away from the cuticle area. And make sure you're pushing in those sides, cleaning that brush off, cleaning the sides. Remember, this is a speed acrylic, so I have to work a little bit quicker than I would with a normal speed acrylic. So now I'm just making sure the sides are pushed in so that way I don't have a wide looking nail once it dries. Keeping everything smooth, pulling everything downward. Make sure your client's hand is angling downward so that way the gravity does the work for you and pulls the acrylic down. And all you have to do is just keep it in line, keep it smooth, and keep it moving. So you see me still pushing in the sides because what I am doing, I'm just ensuring that I'm creating the shape, making sure once everything is dry, that when it's time for me to file, everything will be easier for me. I don't have much filing to do. And as you can see, everything looks nice and smooth. Now I'm going to go in and grab that cuticle bead, which is a small bead. And I'm going to place it right there, right above that previous bead. And I'm going to gently push upward. You see, I'm just taking my time, going around, making sure I'm pushing with my brush bristles towards that cuticle. And then I'm gently pulling down with the rest of that bead, whatever's left over. So everything is blending nice and smoothly. And I'm pushing at that little spot right there. And there we go. So you guys can see. There we go. So, and with this application method, I'm not really trying to build an apex here. I'm just showing you guys how to create these beads and how to work with them. So now I'm going to get started with my next color. You can see how buttery and smooth it is. It's very nice. So I'm going to do an incorrect bead, okay? So I have too much liquid on my brush, and here we go. So you guys can see how this is going to start spreading and moving around. This is what will happen on the nail if you have too much liquid. Now, this is not a speed acrylic, so this is just a normal acrylic, okay? So now I'm going to pick up my next bead. I'm waiting till everything turns shiny. That lets me know it's ready to be placed down. So I did a little bit less liquid, but still, a little bit too much liquid on here. So you guys are going to see that it's workable if you had this on your nails, but you still want to try to get it a little bit more dry than that. The ratio is still a tad bit off. It's not horrible, but it's still moving around. But I could work with that bead if it was on the nails. So I'm going to grab one more incorrect bead for you guys just so you can see. I did a large, medium, and small incorrect bead. The medium, not so bad, but it was still a little bit too much liquid, but not horribly. It's not a bad bead. But this one is a small bead. And so I still had a tad bit too much liquid on this bead. It's just going to be moving a little bit, but for me, I could work with that bead as well. But I just want you guys to practice if you have a practice sheet like this, because that really helps you kind of understand and start to grasp the concept of grabbing the beads with the right amount of liquid to powder ratio. So now I'm going to grab a proper bead, okay? See, this is a nice small bead, and you can see that I'm just waiting for everything to get shiny. That lets me know it's ready. Put my brush down, and I'm going to lift it up. And there we go. Wipe off my brush. You always want to clean that brush. See, that is a nice, perfect bead. That one ran over. That means it would run over all over your client's nail. This one slightly ran over. I could work with that, but yeah, this one was okay. Just a tad bit liquidy, but not horribly, just a tad bit. So now I'm going to grab my next bead for you guys. And this bead you can see how the white powder is turning because the liquid is getting into the powder. You can see the back of my brush. I do not have any acrylic on the back of it. So that means you need to go in at an angle to avoid getting any acrylic on the back side of your brush. It should not be stabbing the brush into the powder. You should be going in at an angle so that way you're not dipping your brush in. So there's another proper bead, and you can see how it's just kind of staying there. And those type of beads you can work with. You can maneuver them how you want to on the nail. So here I am grabbing my next bead. I can already tell I have way too much liquid, but I'm going to place it down for you guys to see. Let's see what it does with too much liquid. It's moving around. Okay, so swipe this up, take this off. Bad bead. So now I'm going to grab a proper bead. Can you guys see that? It's so hard to see it. I'm trying to let it focus in on there, but you can see it's turning shiny, right? That's what you want to see. I'm going to place that bead down and up. Okay, good bead. So you can kind of see what I mean about if you have too much liquid on your brush, what will happen to your beads. I like doing it on this sheet because you can reuse it. You can kind of see where your beads are going when you make the mistake of adding too much liquid. So let's move on to adding this acrylic powder on a nail. So here's an example of too much liquid on your bead. Oh, it's running everywhere. Can't do anything with this. Oh, it's dripping everywhere. Bad bead, right? Let's remove that. Let's go ahead and grab a proper bead. Just gently removing the liquid off your brush. Okay. Now that is changed, I'm going to place it down and up. Okay. You see how shiny that is? Gently moving the sides and this side as well. And now you see how it's moving slowly down the nail? I can work with that because my ratio is proper. I'm just going to slightly pull it down gently. You don't want to be putting too much pressure when doing so. You're just feathering the bead downward, okay? Take your time. Do not, get frustrated. Work with the bead and self-correct. So if you see things that you don't like, if it's spreading out, push it in. Just, gently do it so that way you're not removing the acrylic off of your client's nail by applying too much pressure. I'm going to get the excess off. Make sure I'm keeping that shape. So now I'm going to grab another bead. Pay attention to how I remove the liquid off of my brush and how I grab my bead. You see how it turns? Okay, that lets me know it's ready. Okay, shine nice and shiny. You can see the consistency of it. You see how I'm waiting and how it's not just running all over the place. I can move it when I want, but it's going downward, but in a slower motion. If I had too much liquid, it would be running down like you see in that very first bead that I did. I'm just doing the patting motion. I like to do a lot of patting motions with my acrylic, and I'm pulling at the same time, patting and pulling. Patting and pulling. Okay, so now I'm going to do a cuticle bead, and I'm going to go ahead and zoom in for you guys so that way you can see when I do it. So let me zoom in. There we go. And now I'm just going to pick up a small bead. So now you see that I have this small bead. It's hard to see. It won't focus for some reason, but here we go. I'm going to place it down and up. Okay. Clean off my brush and push in the sides. And I'm gently pushing forward with the tip of my brush, making sure I'm not flushing that cuticle, but making sure I'm getting as close as possible. And I'm just going to pat and pull. And I'm pulling down right here I'm not pulling from the cuticle area because I don't want to remove what I just placed down. So gently pulling down. Okay, you guys, you see how nice and smooth that is? All right. So on this last finger, I'm going to make this a mistake finger. Let's say you've had trouble with your acrylic, lumps and bumps. I'm going to show you guys how to fix that. Okay, you guys, so let me zoom out a little bit so you guys can see how I'm grabbing my brush out of the monomer and into the acrylic powder. Okay, so now I'm going to place my bead right here on her nail. Okay, let's say I'm placing the bead on my client's hand. Okay, well, you know what? I actually want to do a 2 dry bead, so let's take this off. Okay, so let's start over. Let's take all of this monomer off. Let's say you get a bead that's 2 dry, right? You see how the liquid isn't getting all of the beads? It'll be hard to put it down on your client's hand. It'll be kind of stuck to your brush. So let's say, okay, let's put this down. You see what I'm talking about? How it was sticking? Okay, but it's there. Let's say you're getting frustrated and you can't get this to really move. It's clumping up. You're getting frustrated. Okay. So now your acrylic is going on the sides. You're still trying to pat and move it. You're patting too hard to the point where you're putting product into your brush. Now you want to try to loosen it up. You want to try that step that I told you guys about by, loosening it up. Okay. But then we're going to make the mistake of clumping it up. Okay. Because I just remembered that I wanted to show you guys how to do that, right? So let's make a little clump, a gap of a clump somewhere, right? So here's that hump right here, right? Say you made a mistake and you have a thick part of your acrylic right there and it's not smooth. I'm going to show you guys how you can correct this problem. So as you can see, it's kind of like a bead stuck in the middle and it's a little bit smooth towards the back and towards the tip. So for me, I'm going to grab a smaller bead. I'm going to go towards that tip area. Excuse me. And I'm going to place my bead right there because I want to blend and cover, right? So I'm kind of pushing my bead forward to kind of blend towards that back area. And also I'm keeping it leveled with where that hump was so that way I can pull everything down and it'll be nice and smooth. I did not show this on the video, but I will initially kind of correct that with my drill as well once everything dried up, because now what you're doing is you're shifting that apex. And remember, we're not talking about apexes right now, but just kind of mentioning it right here because you don't want to shift the apex to the improper space, right? So now I'm going to go towards the back and we're just correcting my clumpy acrylic application, right? So now I'm going to place that bead kind of close by the cuticle without touching the cuticle. And I'm going to gently push the acrylic forward, pulling in my sides and pulling downward smoothly. So that way everything is nice and smooth on top and we got rid of that bump. So here we are, just gently making sure everything is nice and covered. And now I'm just mushing my acrylic around so I can make everything nice and smooth. So when I turn to the side, you see that arch right there? That is not a proper area where the apex need to be. I would initially file that down and get rid of it. Okay, it's an easy fix, guys. Don't freak out when you have issues like this. Don't become overwhelmed. It's okay to take a break, take a breather, and just get back to it. Okay, mistakes do happen, guys, but I am rooting for you. I promise you. So I have to kind of wrap this video up because I do have a client come in, and I kind of did this like in between. Also, if your napkins are really wet, throw those things out, okay? Because if you have a napkin that's too wet, you do not want to be trying to pick up beads and clean off your brush, because what's going to happen is when you're trying to clean out that brush, nothing's going to be coming out because it's too saturated, okay? So before I wrap my video up, I do want to at least show you guys one example on the nail tips that I have here. Well, the fake nail tips, okay? So I'm placing my bead down. You see it's not spreading around everywhere, right? Because that is a proper bead, right? So remember that this is just a practice form, so it's not going to be perfect, but you want to try to stay inside of the lines, okay? It just teaches you the discipline of how to control your acrylic and how to stay in line with everything. So now I'm going to grab another bead, okay? It's hard to focus, sorry guys. So now I'm going to place that bead and just above that previous bead, okay, right there. Because we're doing a 3-bead method. See how it's not running all over the place? And keep in mind that this is not a speed acrylic. I am gently pulling the acrylic down. If I were to pull it too hard, I would be removing the acrylic and nothing will blend properly. So be gentle when doing so. Okay, so now you see this cuticle area. That is, okay, that little hump right there is called a lanula. It's kind of like a moon-shaped little area on your nail. Some people have it around their thumb area. Some people have it on multiple fingers. So around that lanula and cuticle area, I'm going to place that cuticle bead, okay? So I'm going to gently push it forward as I would do on a client and on a mannequin. Practice act like you would work and making sure nothing is on my client's skin. That nail looks pretty nice, and the goal is to not try to build an apex or build a full nail. Don't waste your products. Just practice on staying in the lines right here, okay? So here's the final look of the application before shaping. And I hope this was helpful to you guys. And I enjoy these sheets because it's reusable. You see how everything just comes up. If you guys enjoyed this video and would like to see more of anything, do not hesitate to comment down below. And let me know if you enjoyed this video, if you liked it, and if there's anything you need help with. I would love to help. So thank you guys for watching. Please do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more. And thanks for watching.